Good afternoon. Welcome. So happy to have you here. As you start to join, please drop a comment so I know who's here, where you're coming in from. And my hope is that we start to share some great information in the comments. Hi, Mama. I can see you. Thanks for joining. I'm going to also virtually wave to you. There we go. Welcome. If you want to, hey Amanda, good to see you. If everyone could drop a comment or a like so we know who's here. I am hoping to gather lots of information and tips from people so we can learn from one another. Thanks for joining us today. I am broadcasting to you live from my living room in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm so grateful to have you on today. This is my third day of doing Facebook Live. I'm learning as I go. We're growing as we go, which is the point. People are connecting with each other and supporting each other during this time. So I encourage you to share your thoughts and ideas in the comment section as we get going. And today we're going to focus on how to support our teams, particularly how to continue our team building during this time. Hey, Audrey. So it can be really challenging to support teams remotely, even when you do it all the time, but particularly for people who are doing this for the first time, there are some extra challenges there. So we're going to talk about that today. I will be here every day this week at 1 o'clock, and we'll be talking about a different issue every day. Tomorrow is reserved specifically for, hey Barb, hey everybody. Tomorrow is specifically reserved for our out of school time, after school folks. So Audrey and Amanda, spread the word. We're going to talk about specifically how to support after school's frontline staff to give them meaningful, valuable work in what they're doing while we're working remotely. Hey, Betsy. So tomorrow is for our after school staff. Hey, Becca. Oh, I'm so happy to have all of you here. On Thursday, we're going to focus on leadership. So we will talk about the 4 main components of effective leadership. That is part of my signature training program called Lead with Your Mind. So I would love to have you join us on Thursday. And then finally on Friday, our topic will be around coaching. So I am a certified coach. And a lot of people have questions. Hey, Sally and Betsy and Rick, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm going through the schedule of what we'll be talking about all week. I'll be here at 1 o'clock every day this week. And Friday will be about coaching. So what is it? Is it for you? Are you interested in trying out being coached? Are you interested in possibly becoming a coach yourself? And what might that entail? So in addition to being here every day at 1 o'clock, I'm also giving it a go on Twitter Live at 4 o'clock every day. And then I will be doing this on Instagram at 10 in the morning as well. So I am intentionally doing it live each time because this is a weird format for someone who's been a teacher her whole life, who now spends a lot of time coaching and training. So much of the joy and the learning comes from interaction. So knowing that people are here live and commenting and helping each other in the comments really makes a big difference. So we're doing it live, and we'll be here tomorrow and the next day all through the week. So thanks again for being here. My name is Catherine Spinney, and let's get started. So what we're going to focus on today is how to do virtual team building and how to strengthen your teams while you are supervising remotely. So I want to recognize that there are people here who have done this before and people who are supervising people who have worked remotely before. And there's people who are experiencing all of this for the first time. So hopefully the information will be valuable for all of you. I also encourage you to share information and ideas with each other in the comments, because I know you are already trying things with your respective teams and how to encourage and increase team building during this time. So please share your ideas in the chat so everybody can learn from you. One thing I want to make sure we are on the same page about, and we continue to work through this session together, is this. Everybody is experiencing this pandemic equally, and everybody is experiencing it differently. So both of those things are really important to keep in mind when it comes to effectively leading your team during this time. So what do I mean by this? I mean that obviously everybody is affected by what is going on. And when we are in times of crisis and challenge, as we are now, there are a lot of negative consequences to that. And it's an opportunity to grow together. So this time can actually, with all the challenges and all the obstacles we're facing, it can really become an opportunity to grow as a team and grow as a leader. So to frame it in the way that we're all in this together, right? We're all learning as we go. We're all making mistakes as we go, myself included. This is new territory for me. And I appreciate your patience with me as well as we're figuring out new kinds of technology and ways of working together. So recognize that this is a connection opportunity with your team. But be careful, because we also need to acknowledge that everybody is experiencing this differently and in their own way. Some people's lives have been completely upended by what is going on. Some people are only minorly inconvenienced by what is going on. Some of your staff that is working remotely really is at their wits' end because they cannot get 2 minutes to themselves to take a phone call, to take a bath, to not hear dogs barking and kids screaming and everybody's all in their space. But other people all of a sudden are in a position where they are really isolated and they're feeling really lonely and they're seeking connection. So as a leader, it's important for you to understand where each of your staff is and how you can support them in those ways. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the logistics of managing a team remotely. We're really going to focus on how to build teams. But I do want to highlight a couple of the logistical areas because you cannot build your team if these are not in order. So specifically around communication and time. So with your communication, you need to make sure that you are checking in with your team as needed, and to make sure that you are doing so in a consistent way at a consistent time. This is a really uncertain time for your staff and for you. So to have some level of consistency in what that communication looks like is really helpful. At the same time, be flexible and creative in your communication. There's so many tools, there's so many video chats and live streaming and all different ways to connect with people. So be open and creative to how you are connecting with your team. The other logistical area to continue to focus on is around time. And this is in a lot of different ways. So first and foremost, make sure your expectations with your team are crystal clear around time. And that shows up in 3 big ways. The first big way is, are there times throughout the day that everybody is expected to be available? And if so, do they know that? And are they adhering to that? So make sure that's really clear, that everybody knows of the certain times during the day that they need to be available and accessible. At the same time, where is there flexibility for your team to do their work on their own time? It's also important to be clear, are you concerned about amount of time or amount of work? So one of the pieces of advice I've heard that I think is really valuable to keep in mind is concern yourself less with what people are doing and focus more on what people are accomplishing. This is a good rule of thumb to carry with us after this pandemic as well. The focus of what we are doing right now is reaching our goals and getting the work done that we need to get done. So if someone does that in 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, what difference does that make, right? You're going to make yourself crazy if you're really caught up in, I think they're taking a nap and I wonder if they're on Facebook, and you're not going to be able to monitor what people are doing remotely, nor should you try. Hopefully you have a staff that you trust and you respect and you treat as the professionals they are. So don't waste your energy worrying about who's doing what, as long as they are accomplishing what's expected to be accomplished. And the last piece around time I want to highlight is being very clear with staff about when their working time is done. For a lot of people who don't have experience working remotely, all of a sudden it's possible for them to feel like they need to be on and accessible all the time or working all the time. You set the tone and expectation as a leader of really closing the door, a metaphorical door to the work day, and encouraging your staff to shut down when they need to shut down and take that break from work until the next day. So, having said all that, let us dive into how to continue to build your team and strengthen your team while you are leading them remotely. And the good news about this is, even with all the changes that are going on, everything that everybody's experiencing for the first time, the way that you have been leading effectively before this crisis happened is going to help you lead during the crisis. Even with all the changes, the strengths and the skills and the gifts that you bring to this don't change, right? And that holds true for how you are building your team, because building a team always has three main components, and you can't effectively build them without addressing all three. And we will talk about each of those three today with some specific suggestions. And again, if you have some suggestions of things you've been trying that are working great or things you'd like to try, drop them in the comments. There's lots of really knowledgeable, skillful people here that perhaps can help out and share some of their own ideas. So to build up your team, you need to focus on all three areas of team building, which are: one, building up your individual team members. Okay. Two is building your team collectively as a unit. And the third is building the connections and relationships among your team members. Those are the three areas that need to be addressed to effectively build your teams. So let's talk about what that looks like. Again, a lot of the principles are going to be the same in how you did this before this crisis happened. It just looks a little bit different. There's a lot more technology involved, but the principles are the same. So let's start with the first one, which is how to support your individual team members during this time. And the first area, can you repeat it? Absolutely. So the three areas where you need to focus on building up your team are in building each individual member, building up the team as a whole, and third, building the relationships amongst the team. Okay. So let's start with the individual. One of the things to keep in mind as you're supporting each individual person you supervise, it might be 2 people, it might be 10 people, and however big your team is, continue to do your one-on-one check-ins with your staff. This is not the time to abandon one-on-one check-ins. In fact, you may consider bumping up the frequency and the duration of those check-ins depending on the support that people need. Again, there are going to be some of your team members who are craving connection. There's going to be some team members who really struggle with the technology of this or keeping themselves on task or on deadline. So be willing to increase that one-on-one support you're offering to your team members. Also, because some of them might not be comfortable to share some of the challenges they're experiencing in a group setting. So continue to do your one-on-one check-ins and consider making space to maybe do them more frequently or a little bit longer, depending on what your staff needs. In terms of using this time to help each individual team member grow, of course, they continue with the regular job tasks and responsibilities and expectations that they had before this happened. But depending on the work you do, those might look exactly the same, or they may have shifted because of the circumstances. Regardless of where you are, each team member should be clear about what their responsibilities are during this time. In addition to that, this is a really wonderful opportunity to give your staff a chance to learn something new, to grow, to deepen an area that they are interested in learning, growing, or deepening. And with all the suggestions we'll talk about today, the most powerful way you can go about this is to remove yourself from the equation as much as possible and to empower your staff and team members to be supporting each other with this. So what does that look like? That looks like in your one-on-one time with your team members and you're checking in on logistics and tasks and deadlines and all those things good leaders do. It's a great time to revisit what some of their goals are and to create the space for them to work on those goals. So for example, if one of your staff members has really been wanting to improve their public speaking, or they're trying to learn the new database you just implemented, or there's a new program that you're going to be using, or a new sales strategy, or whatever the case may be. This is a great opportunity for you to give them space to start to develop those areas. And the best way you can do it is connecting them with someone else on the team who already does it really well. So that is not only building up connection, it is giving staff an opportunity to build each other individually and collectively. Hopefully, as a leader, you have a good sense of what your staff's strengths are. Use those strengths to benefit the rest of your team. So find out who wants to learn what and make some connections with who already does it really well. You don't have to monitor and don't micromanage the process, but allow the space for people to reach out to one another and say, hey, you're such a good public speaker. Can you give me some tips or advice, or watch me do a public speech and give me some feedback or whatever. On the team level, there is great opportunity to work collectively as a team as well. And one of the areas is to take that same principle of having team members help each other individually and doing it collectively on a team level. So where are each of your team's strengths and who is interested in sharing some of those strengths and learning and growing with the team. These sort of mini professional development opportunities. It might be something they do for the entire team. It might be something they offer to a small group that's interested in doing that. But where can you utilize and empower and strengthen your team to start to help with everybody's professional development? Another area that would be really helpful to help build up your team during this time is around problem solving. So all of the problems you're experiencing as a result of this current situation, all your problems are not new, right? You might have some new problems that you're encountering, but those have been added on to problems that already existed in your organization. So let's use this time as a problem-solving time, both with current problems experienced and with lingering problems in your organization. And you can tackle these in lots of different creative ways. So you can do it again on the collective level to give the entire group, depending on the size of your team, a certain problem area to say, this is something that we're up against. What do we do about it? How do we fix it? And give them some space to work through and come up with some suggestions. You can also do that in smaller groups and perhaps give different issues to different staff. Also, on the individual level, to empower your team to support one another and to remove yourself from the equation when you can you set up some system where staff can reach out to one another when there is a problem? Instead of them always coming to you, emailing, texting, calling you when you have all these other things that you're dealing with too, is there a certain shared document, chat room, whatever technology you're using, where somebody can come in and post a question or ask a question if it's video, and other folks can pop in and help them out with that? So it might be something really technical, like I'm trying to get on this conference call and I can't dial in. It might be something completely not related to technology. But where can you be creative about having a space for people to pop in with their questions and challenges, and other staff can help them out? The third main area where you can focus on building up your team is in your team connections. So sometimes when we think about team building, we think of, some of the things we see on TV a lot, which is the activity, right? The trust fall, or the getting across the lava, or crossing arms and trying to get out of the human pretzel. There's lots of different activities that help build teams, but sometimes some of us view those as a little bit fluffy and a little bit unfocused on the task at hand. I come from the education and youth development world, so we are really open to these sorts of activities. Not everybody is. So what I want to say to you is there is value, and not just value, but necessity, and intentionally building teams. So how you go about it is up to you and what your staff respond to. But dismissing team building as sort of an extra fluffy thing is really wasting an opportunity. We know from experience, we know from research that teams who like working together, teams who know each other on a more personal level and not just as colleagues, they work better together. They enjoy their work better. They stick around longer. So it's not just some waste time exercise at the beginning of a staff retreat. There is really deep value in providing opportunity for your staff to get to know each other. One of the other things that we know from the education world is people learn through movement and people learn through laughter. So again, it's not just fun for fun's sake. This is how people build relationships and learn how to connect better with each other and work together. So, as you're creating opportunity for staff to get to know each other better, create that space where folks can connect with each other to get to know each other better. We mentioned earlier about having staff connect with each other to learn something new, to connect with each other, to help each other solve problems. There's also great opportunity for folks to sit and have their lunchtime together and have their coffee break, their virtual coffee break together, but just a chance for people to get to talk and get to know each other better. Another really great suggestion during this time, again, you can do it as a big group, you can do it as smaller groups, is doing some type of shared learning outside of your staff sharing their gifts and professional development, and do a sort of virtual book group, webinar group, podcast group, blog group, article group, whatever piece of information you would like your staff to absorb and share. And it's a great way to spark discussion. So it could be something that is related to a particular client or area or division or whatever the case may be. It might be an ethical challenge. It might be a case study. There's lots of information and resources to absorb, and then to have staff absorb on their own and then come together and discuss it. So I'm always very happy to share resources, and so please feel free to drop a comment if you have one, or you can check in with me later and I'm happy to share resources. There's also people here who are very knowledgeable who can share some resources for you as well. So as we get into what some team building activities might look like, I want to stress to you that, again, how you are operating before this situation happened, there are adjustments that need to be made, but we're also not completely transforming as an organization. Your organizational culture is what it is. And now is not the time to completely rearrange your organizational culture. So if the way your team operates is a very structured, professional, button-down, suit and tie sort of way, this is not the time to all of a sudden implement wacky and zany team building ideas and we're having lunchtime karaoke, right? It is going to be really, really uncomfortable to a staff who is not used to that. If your staff is used to that, your creativity knows no bounds, right? You can have as much fun with this as you'd like, but don't get them so far out of their comfort zone that they're missing the value in what you're trying to do. When I think about team building activities, what comes to mind for me is that scene from Office Space where the manager is so out of touch with his staff and he's trying sort of to work on staff morale, and he gathers the organization together and he's like, all right, everybody, Friday is going to be Hawaiian shirt day. And he's expecting this resounding reaction, and everyone's just like rolling their eyes and cringing, like, who cares about Hawaiian Shirt Day, right? So we're not trying to force Hawaiian Shirt Day on people. Find out what they do respond to. And once again, it's an opportunity to tap into the creativity and knowledge and skill of your staff. Reach out to staff and say, hey, we're looking to do a team building activity tomorrow. Do you want to lead it? Do you want to do a little icebreaker? Do you want to do a connection activity? And tap into the gifts and strengths that are already on your team. So let's talk about what some of those ideas might look like. And again, these are all able to be adjusted to things that interest you and your team. If you have further suggestions, please share with the group. And one thing to keep in mind as you're thinking about what types of activities you might want to do with your team, have a balance. So create some optional space where people can enjoy some of these activities on their free time, but also create some forced fun, I think we call it sometimes. That's not the greatest term, but do create some opportunity where everyone is expected to participate so that you get the benefit for the entire team. So you can do this in lots of ways, and you can do it in a planned way or in a spontaneous way. So in a planned way, there's lots of creativity in how you can do some team building and get staff and provide staff an opportunity to get to know each other. So one of the things I keep hearing from my friends that I keep hearing in my own head is how much people are snacking and eating and cooking and food, right? We're home all day long with our refrigerators very close by. So how can we use that, right? So if you're having a lunchtime meeting, can you make it a potluck lunchtime meeting? And everybody brings their lunch with them, and some of your staff will be great cooks, some of them will be a little less than great cooks, but people can share recipes and ideas and talk about what they're eating for lunch. If you have the capacity and you are able to do this with your organization, you can Venmo everyone on your team $20 and everybody orders pizza that day, or takeout, and you have a virtual pizza party. If you are a team that is a happy hour vibe team, not everyone is, I respect that, but if you are a happy hour team, the last meeting of the week, the last check-in of the week, at the happy hour time, everyone brings their favorite happy hour drink, which can include something non-alcoholic, and you sit and toast to the week that was, toast to the week that is to come, and enjoy a virtual happy hour with each other. The other thing you can do, right now, this is a bit of a makeshift office, which I think a lot of people are working from makeshift offices. You can do a sort of screenshot a picture of where you're working today, or make it fun. And what's the biggest disaster that happened in your home office, right? A lot of us have pets running around and kids running around and phones are ringing and internet's getting disconnected. You could have a decorate your home office contest and have little prizes for people who are creative in how they're decorating their home office. Some offices already do a bring your pet to work day sort of thing. A lot of folks have pets already at home. You can have a bring your pet to work day when you're on a certain meeting and people can show off their pets or something like that. Another great idea is games. People love to play games. And again, you can have fun for fun's sake, or you can cater it a little bit more to your team and the work that you do. So if there is a time during the day where folks are playing games for the sake of playing games, that's great. If someone's organizing charades or taboo or all those games people enjoy, you can also have people organize some games that are specific to your team and to your organization. So trivia type games, Jeopardy type games. You can collect information about your team and make those the questions. You can do some questions around organizational history, around your clients. I always really love Family Feud kind of games, and you can have fun with it. You can have a question be, what are the 10 things that happen on every conference call, right? And then I bet you can think of 10 right now that like, are you there? Can you hear me? I think I lost you. And someone beeps out and someone beeps in, right? And all these funny things that happen on conference calls. So you can make it fun. You can do it as a game, as a challenge. Have somebody build the biggest, strongest, fastest, whatever. So all of those ideas that, again, can be done when you are in the office can also be done outside of the office. The other idea is to do some things in a spontaneous way, right? So it's really important to check in with the team, but if you're checking in a lot, which I hope you are, and every time you check in, you do it in the same way, which is sort of like, how's everybody doing? What was a highlight today? What was a challenge? What was your rose? What was your thorn? this get to, yes, Rick, this will be shareable. I think I've got the technology down. I'm also doing it tonight on Twitter at 4. So I will be doing it all over again. But yes, I will let you know how to share it. Thank you. So where was I? Yes. So you can also do it in a spontaneous way, right? So instead of just the like, how is it going? How is it going? How is it going? Today is going to be, all right, everyone, we're going to start the meeting in 5 minutes. I want you to come back with a GIF, with a song, with a meme, with an emoji that describes how you're doing today, right? And everybody comes and it's some funny meme, and some of them might get, kind of serious, right? Because we are still dealing with a lot of challenges, but some of them might be really fun. And so come up with or find an object in the house that describes how your day went, right? Or something like that. Another spontaneous idea that you can do to open up a team meeting is do it like Monty Hall style from Let's Make a Deal. If you remember that old show, I think it's new again. I think they've revived it. But what he would do is he would say, okay, audience, the first person who shows me, and he would pick some object from his head, right? The first person who can show me a toothpick wins $100. If you have the capacity to give your staff $100, I encourage you to do so. But for most of us, we won't have that capacity. So it can be some organizational swag that you have, or they get to leave work early that day, or they get to whatever, right? But try to choose items that are as equally attainable by everybody. So, some folks have kids, some don't. Some folks have pets, some don't. Some folks eat certain things, some don't. So try to think of objects that would be found in most places, but be creative with it, right? Like everybody show me their funniest coffee mug, and everyone brings their coffee mug, and the one that wins gets whatever, okay? You can also take that idea and make it like a scavenger hunt, right? Like all of a sudden you have 15 minutes to bring me these 10 items from your house, or take 10 pictures of this, and everybody scrambles. You can do it in teams. Those of you who have been using Zoom during this time, I don't know if you are aware that you can divide big groups of people on Zoom into subgroups. So there's all kinds of ways that you can play around with that. But you can do it individually. You can pair people up. Okay, you're going to find these 10 objects in your house, and people have to troubleshoot. I think I have that. You go find this, right? And then you play around with that. So there's so many ways to have fun with it. There's so many ways to be creative. This is a serious time. I don't intend to make light of the challenges that people are experiencing, but in that time, we still need opportunities to smile, to laugh, to release some of the stress we are feeling. And that is one of the greatest gifts you can give as a leader to your team, is providing that opportunity to take some of that stress away and really support each other and let them have some fun, right? Let them laugh a little bit through this. One of the things that is really important too is to have some closing to the day. One, so that people close the day and they are not feeling like they need to be there all the time. You tried to put people in groups and couldn't figure it out. If someone could help out Michelle a little bit with how they're able to put people in groups, if no one gets back to Michelle, I'll follow up after this. So make sure you have some closing at the end of the day, so people have an opportunity to share things that they've accomplished. And also, because we are building teams here, where they have an opportunity to thank and shout out some of the other members of the team. Because they're going to be interacting so much, they're going to be teaching each other things and helping each other problem solve and learning things and playing things and having fun and sharing recipes and doing all these things with each other. Have some sort of closing at the end of the day where people check in to, again, whatever, a Google Doc, whatever system system you're using so that people can share their own experiences, but also read the experiences of other people, which helps build up that morale. So that was a lot. Let me recap, and I will check my notes quickly to make sure I didn't leave anything out. But essentially, during this time, lots of things are different and lots of things are the same. And the way you lead your team, some things need to shift, but the most important things don't. You are bringing your understanding, your listening, your leadership, your empathy into this situation with you. You are building your teams on all three levels, on the individual level, on the team level, and on the relationship level. That's something you're already doing. It just looks and feels a little bit different. Oh, thanks, Patrick. So let me do a quick check of my notes to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I think I got most of it. Awesome. So please continue to share ideas in the chat and with one another. You can share this video. So after it's over, I edit a little bit. I'm still learning all that, but I'll edit it and post it, and then it is free to be shared. If you're not sure how to do that, send me a comment or email me, and I will share it to your Facebook page, I think is how that works. We'll figure that out, but I'm happy to share it with anyone who may benefit. And again, I will be doing this again on Facebook tonight, on Twitter tonight at 4 o'clock. And we'll hope to see you tomorrow for my youth development folks. We'll be doing a special session on how to provide meaningful work for your frontline staff while they're working remotely. Thursday will be an overview of the 4 main areas of leadership. And Friday will be all things coaching if you are interested in learning what it is, if you might want to receive it or might want to be a coach. So thank you so much to everybody who is here for supporting me, for supporting each other, for supporting your teams. It is a challenging time, certainly, and we will only get through it if we get through it together. So thank you. I really enjoyed the time. I hope it was valuable to you. Please share away to other folks who can benefit. And I look forward to seeing you virtually for the next few weeks and hopefully in person very soon. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe, lead on, and I'll see you soon. Oh, I love that, Michelle. Pep rally. That's great. Yeah, and I'm happy to talk more with you about some other ideas that might work for you specifically. Yeah. Hey, Dorothy, thanks so much. I'm sure you're doing a lot of these things already. Hey, Sally, great to see you. I'm sure a lot of you are doing all these things already. If you have more ideas to share, oh, thank you. If you have more ideas to share, please share in the chat. There's so many amazing leaders in here, and I know you're trying out things and being flexible, and so share with those who are also here. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.